Welcome back to NTV Tonight. My name is Joe Ageo, and that hour is here, and so is the man. We're talking about David Kenani Maraga, CJ Emeritus. He's been in retirement for, I think, 4 years now. It's going to 4 years. CJ, you have been up and about, and we will talk a lot about that. But we've seen some terrible things in the country. Yesterday, we saw mayhem, some people would say, in Nairobi. I wonder what your reactions are to this. One, as a former CJ, someone who's operated a lot in the space of the administration of justice, and also as a Kenyan, what are you seeing?
Thank you, Joe, for having me, having this show, particularly on this day. I say this day because it's a memorable day. It is on the 18th of June last year that Rex Masai, one of the most exuberant Kenyans, was murdered. Eric Shieni and quite a number of others, according to Kenya National Human Rights Commission, about 60 of them were also murdered last year. Why? Simply because they were exercising their constitutional right of expression. 31 others, plus 2 children, had been killed the previous year. So today is a day when we reflect back about what human life means to us as a nation. Given the impunity that has, the culture of impunity that has been developed in this country, where those in authority think they can do anything, think they are authorities unto themselves, and they can do anything, including killing young people and children like rats. Given the level of corruption in this country, where those in authority think that public resources are their property, it is important that we have reached a moment that we need to seriously think about resetting our country. We need to reset our country back to constitutionalism, where everybody has to obey the law. We need to reset our country back to the rule of law and have things work in the way they are provided for in the Constitution.
And we'll talk about...
When you talk about yesterday, I just took you back a bit to give you the background. Yesterday, what we witnessed was heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. When I saw Boniface Mwangi, unharmed, standing there against the wall, being boxed, and as he was falling down, somebody comes and shoots him at close range, and was still on the head. I was wondering what is happening in our country. This young man was not fighting back. He was not even resisting arrest if they wanted to arrest him. His only crime was that he was on the street selling face masks, and that is what led to his being shot, and he's fighting for his life in a hospital.
I think there are a lot of Kenyans who say that they know CJ Maraga from the courts. They don't know this other side of you. What has brought out what some people would say the activist in you? Because we have even seen statements where you said that you are considering joining what has been called the Freedom of Assembly events on June 25th.
Mm-hmm. Joe, this has come as a result of what has happened in the country. You are a parent, and so many others are parents. To see our young people being handled the way they have been handled, it is something which is extremely worrying. Extremely worrying. So I mean, after discussions with friends and others, and after serious reflection, I thought it is time that we think about the leadership of this country. We think about the leadership of this country. We can't let some people literally throw our country to the dogs. We need to think about that seriously. And it is as a result of that reflection, I have made up my mind that I will run in 2027 for presidency of this country.
Oh, wow, that's a big announcement you're making on our show tonight, and I'll be drilling down on that a little bit. But I want to stay with these protests that have been going on. During that press conference on Monday, you called for the resignation of the top brass of the police leadership. You actually even threatened to institute private prosecutions against the IG and DIG Lagat, who has since stepped aside. Tell us a little bit more about that initiative.
That initiative is born of what has happened. Ojwang was arrested from his home in Homa Bay simply because of expressing an opinion and saying that somebody is corrupt. Police vehicles are sent from Nairobi, and it's brought from Homa Bay more than 400 kilometers to Nairobi, and he's murdered in cold blood. Then what you hear are stories. He hit his head against the wall. This or that happened to him. When the DCI, when the DIG, and even the Inspector General of Police are themselves summoned to Parliament, they lie on oath about the cause of death. Lying on oath is perjury. It's a criminal offense under our system. Unless we take up such issues, it will continue. It will continue. And that's why I say, look, if the authorities are not going to take anything, I know there are already other Kenyans who have come up with an application for leave to prosecute those involved. We will join them. We will join them, if only to say that this cannot go on. This cannot go on. This is a country ruled by law, and we should all abide by law. You cannot have people being killed simply because they are expressing their views. There are mechanisms. There are legal mechanisms. If somebody has offended you, take him to court. Get damages against him. If he has committed a criminal offense, let him be prosecuted. That's the order of the day.
Yeah, let's talk about this big announcement. What is on your platform? What is this? I know there would be elaborate conversations about this, but tonight, what is this one thing, especially in light of what we are seeing in the country? What would be different about a Maraga presidency if it were to be?
Thank you, Joe. What we are having now is a state of affairs where we are leading to a total breakdown of the rule of law. As I've said, those in authority think they can do whatever they want to do, and they skip with it. If we continue with that, your guess is as good as mine. We will not have a country. So my view is that, given a chance, I would want to call the country back to order. With humility, I would want to call the country back to order. Why? I mean, how? I would require, I mean, as the head of state, with the powers given to that office, I would require everybody to obey the law, starting with myself. And then things will fall into place. Without that, we are going to lose, as a subsidy, we are going to lose our country. And I mean, I think we are in that moment where we need somebody courageous to do exactly that. And with humility, Joe, you were around here, you know what I did in 2017. When there was a stolen election, we nullified it. When there were petitions that Parliament had refused to enact legislation to implement the 1/3 gender parity, the petitions were brought to me in my capacity individually as a Chief Justice, and I recommended to the President to dissolve Parliament. With humility, if Kenyans gave me the authority, I will be firm and make sure that we are an orderly country.
Let me discuss a little bit of what people might call real politics here. I mean, in our country, there's a way that politics has been organized over the years. I mean, if you think about it, people will ask, where are you coming from? What is your base? Some will even ask, I don't know how much money you have. How are you going to overcome that framing now that you say you want to introduce a different way of looking at leadership?
Yes. Thank you very much. That is the politics which has brought us to where we are. My view is that I want to appeal to Kenyans that this politics of ethnicity, as to where I come from, you look at me as to where I come from and how many voters are behind me, is what has brought us to where we are. But if we were to face issues and look at who can deal with the crisis that is there in the country, I think we'll move from there. And I am convinced that Kenyans have reached a stage where that politics of ethnicity is not going to work. Our young people, the Gen Zs and the youths, have told us and they have demonstrated. They have said, look, they are tired of this. This is what has caused Kenya to be in this mess. So I trust that the Kenyans this time round are not going to be balkanized in the ethnic groups. They are going to look at the issues that are facing the country and vote accordingly. You have talked about money. I am not going to require funds to dish out for people to vote for me, because that is the irregularity. Those are among the irregularities that we should sort out, and that's what has brought this country to where we are. You get people who, because they have money, they literally buy your soul, and that's the last you hear of him until, I think, the next election. And then the country, he doesn't care. He doesn't care. What he cares about is, first of all, he wants to recover what he has spent, and then embark on building a war chest for the next election. And the cycle goes on. I think we have reached a stage where we want to say, no, this cannot go on. Even somebody without money can still be elected. And I'm going to make an appeal at an appropriate time for Kenyans to crowdfund for me for logistical expenses. And I'm convinced that is going to work to happen.
What do you think you're up against? I mean, you have been in this country, you've observed how politics is played. I want to get a sense of what you estimate to be what you're going to be coming up against.
I am not naive. I know I am going to be up against quite a number of forces. Those in leadership and the cartels around them. Those who want to maintain the status quo and continue, plundering the public resources, continue acting as they want, without caring at all about the plight of the Kenyans. But I trust that if the Kenyans will have confidence in me, and I believe they will stand behind me, and we will be able to defeat those forces.
Now, you have been speaking a lot about young people. In fact, in the wake of what has been happening in the country, you said, for example, in a statement, we celebrate the bravery and relentless pursuit of justice and accountability that have been fervently led by the young people of Kenya. And then you add that the present and future of this country lies in their hands. And you say, we are here to walk with you in this journey. Would you be positioning yourself as that Gen Z candidate that we have been trying to figure out?
Yes, I will. And I will tell you why. We, as I told you, I have children. Very many people have children. We're not going to be there forever. We are not going to be there forever to be leaders. So we must get to a stage where we want to get our young people into leadership, so that when we get weak, they take over and the country runs. Don't forget that actually 80% of the Kenyan population are youth, are people under the age of 40. So what are you talking about? The minority of us who are above 40 don't want to realize that it is time we get the young people to be involved in leadership of this country, to be given an opportunity to come up with innovations and come up with ideas of that can help our country. After all, we are in the technological world. You agree with me that our young people are much better than we are in technology. And the technology is what is moving the world today. So it is, I'm there to cooperate with the young people, encourage them to come up and give them their right, so that they are able to occupy their right positions and run this country as we move on. It is being done in other countries all over. It is being done in other countries all over. In civil service, we used to have a policy where especially those who are retiring, were required to get others to understudy them. When are we going to do that if we don't get our young people to be involved in leadership and accept them? We have taken them to schools. They have trained very well. We have brilliant young people in this country. It is only that we are not giving them an opportunity, and we are not facilitating them to be able to contribute to the economic welfare and the economic and the social welfare of this country.
Kenyans are used now, I think, getting used to promises from people who are running for leadership. For example, in the last election, there was this conversation, the discourse in politics is changing. Now we will have Mama Mboga, we will have government by the ordinary people. And today, that's not the same story that most Kenyans will be talking about. What is there today that you would place on the table and say, this is why Kenyans should trust me, that I am that leader that they've been waiting for?
Joe, I'm a lawyer. We have very many other professionals. This country requires very, very many people. Very many people. What I can place before the Kenyans is that I am going to get a team of professionals in various areas. I will not purport to know what is done in the medical field. I will leave that to the experts what I will do is, I will do the necessary vetting, get the right people in the right place. And once they are there, allow them to work. Give them the confidence they require to work, but call them to account. And I believe that is what is required. And if Kenyans trust me, that is exactly what I will do. Our institutions have literally been broken down. We have no institutions simply because of interference. The government has interfered with the recruitment of those who go to those institutions, so that when you get people in institutions that are supposed to serve the country, they are like saying, look, what is Bwana Mkubwa saying about this? There is an issue here. What is Bwana Mkubwa thinking? I wouldn't want that to happen. If I get somebody who is not working because he's waiting for me to tell him what to do, I'll sack him and get somebody else to do that. So that's what we need to do. What I will do is to provide leadership that will enable the Kenyan business community, to enable the Kenyan professionals, to enable the dons in our universities to do their work as they are required to do. And the country will move forward.
Now, on one of the pernicious issues in our country, when you think about governance, is corruption. And this is something that I think you have spoken about before. And we are in a state where corruption is rampant. I think some people would say perhaps more than it has ever been. What are your thoughts around this question of corruption that would give Kenyans confidence that we are truly turning a new page?
Yes. Thank you, Joe. As you have rightly put it, corruption has literally, it's sending this country on its knees. Public debt is huge. Ask yourself what the borrowing that has been done since 2013 is it how many trillions? More than 8 trillions has done. You can't lay your hands, you can't see what it has done. The Kenyans today are burdened with the public debt simply because these borrowings have been taken and they have ended up in people's pockets. They have ended up in mansions in foreign countries where people go for holiday homes when Kenyans don't even have a shelter above their heads, and yet they are the ones shouldering that. So, given an opportunity, if Kenyans give me an opportunity, I will face corruption head on. I will face corruption head on. And I know what I am up against in that. I am going to have to step on very, very thick toes, but it requires someone to do it, and trust me, I will do it.
Let's talk about your time at the judiciary. Corruption, I think, was an issue, still remains an issue. What was your experience with corruption there, and would you say there is something that you did there that you'd be transferring now to the national scale?
Judiciary is not immune from corruption. It is like any other institution. And even when I was there, I admitted that there are cases of corruption. And what we did is we got complaints from people, from Kenyans, and we processed those cases where there was evidence. We sent people home. Just before I was appointed a judge of the Supreme Court, I was privileged to head a tribunal that investigated a judge. And there was evidence, and we sent him home. I know the challenges there, and we have cases where allegations are made against judges, and you know, you just can't send somebody home because somebody else has made an allegation. We ask that give us evidence. And I will urge Kenyans, to be brave enough to come up where necessary, even if it means we invoke the provisions of the Witness Protection Act. We do that so that we get evidence and deal with those people. I can assure you that where there will be evidence, I will be the first person to send whoever is involved home.
So, CJ, we will continue with this conversation on corruption and a few more other issues. But at this stage, we are going to take a quick commercial break. You are watching NTV Tonight, and we are here live in this exclusive interview with CJ Emeritus David Maraga. We'll be back after just a few moments.
Into an unforgettable adventure with sour, long-lasting bath soap.
Kenya is on the rise. It's growing, it's progressing. It is powered by you. You are innovative. You are passionate about the future. You want more from life, from time, and from your money. At Stima Sacco, we are a reflection of you. We are a stable, financially sound institution providing tailor-made services to add value to your life, time, and money. We are guided by your aspiration. We are designed to match your ambition. We are Stima Sacco, a true reflection of you.
We're bringing you the hottest show in town. From exclusive interviews with the biggest names in the game.
When you hear music, na ukose kuona dance, na wezi ona dance bila muziki.
Watching Kwetu Mix, respect the OGs. Yeah!
To a DJ set that will knock your socks off.
Kwetu Mix NTV, Monday mpaka Friday, let's go.
Don't miss out on the fun. Tune into Kwetu Mix every weekday only on NTV.
Kwetu Mix, in association with Airtel.
Subscribe to the Smarter Bundle today. Dial *544# or visit My Airtel app. Airtel Smarter Bundle. Browse, chat, call. Airtel Money. Airtel, a reason to imagine.
Turn bath time into an unforgettable adventure with sour, long-lasting bath soap.
Welcome back. We have a conversation here with David Maraga, former CJ, who's just announced for the first time here on live TV that he'll be running for president in 2027. And we're just here interrogating that platform on which he intends to run. And CJ, this conversation is drawing a lot of interest online, and I'll look at some of the questions and comments people have. But I wanted to get a sense from you on this question of corruption, particularly from the perspective of the administration of justice, the governance structures around this, because we have always had complaints that the whole thing is corrupt, whether you're talking about committees in parliament that investigate people here, whiffs of corruption, whether you go to EACC, whether you go to DPP, there are always conversations, the courts that cases either delay or people are not prepared, there's no enough evidence, and all of these bottlenecks that at the end of the day cases will stay for long, some will go and people are arrested in dramatic fashion and nothing happens, they are released and so on and so forth. I wanted to get clearly from you what you see as this vision to ensure that there is serious prosecution of corruption that actually ends up with the guilty people ending up in jail.
Thank you, Joe. Joe, we have very, very brilliant and honest Kenyans who are paining as you are paining, as everybody else is paining, because of what is happening around. Given an opportunity, those people given an opportunity, they will stand up for this country. They will stand up for this country. I can tell you, without any fear of contradiction, that I was privileged to head the task force on the police reforms. During that period, I went around the country and I spoke with quite a number of police officers. I can assure you, I can tell you without any fear, that we have some very, very honest police officers, helpless because they are being given mixed signals. They are not being led to carry out their work. I will ensure that those Kenyans are given space and are allowed to work. And I can assure you we will recover. It's a question of clear direction being given. And when it is coming up from the top, you can rest assured that when, an honest police officer is not being told that orders are coming from above, because I will tell them that there is no order coming from above me. So unless you have heard it from me personally, you go ahead and do your work. So unless we take that step, we, as I said, we are losing our country. So the corruption deals which are there are actually facilitated by those in power. And as I told you, those are the people I will deal with. Of course, I will not be alone. I will get a team of other people who have the same views and who want to save this country, to work together, and we will be able to deal with it. Major part of the corruption in this country, as we know, is budgeted corruption. Budgeted corruption, where money is budgeted for functions, and it ends up in other, not serving those functions. You know of procurement processes. Procurement processes is where you get a lot of money being budgeted, and a very, very large fraction ends up in people's pockets. So those are the things that we will streamline and ensure that the funds that we have are directed to the functions they are supposed to perform.
So one of the reasons political analysts say why corruption is very difficult to tackle is that when people are running for president, they have to build all these coalitions, find all manner of people, and some would even get into a coalition with the devil himself if that gets them to State House. What price are you willing to pay politically on this question of corruption?
I will get people who share the same views I share, who share the same views the Kenyans share. Let me tell you, Joe, the Kenyans are just tired. They are fed up. I have spoken to quite a number of young people. Those who are employed, both in public and private sector, about the taxation that is going on, the deductions that are going on. Some say, look, we would not even mind how much we are asked to pay for hospital insurance. If only we could see results from that. I was talking to a friend of mine, a young man. He says, look, I have my family here in Nairobi. My parents are not alive. But if the deductions from my salary would go and help my neighbor at home, so that I don't get any appeals to join common WhatsApp for raising funds for somebody to be taken to hospital, he would not mind at all. He would be very happy to do that. So I'm telling you that as far as the views we are getting from Kenyans is that the Kenyans are tired. They want a change. So those who would want to join me, those who would want to be on the side of the Kenyans will join me, and we will work and ensure that we enforce Chapter 6 of the Constitution and make sure that we do the right thing. This is a moment, Joe, we are not going to have those kind of coalitions simply to enrich other people. And I believe, as I said, if direction is given from the top leadership of the country, we will have very many people who will work honestly, and we move on.
What is the most radical thing that you would do with regard to corruption that will send the clearest signal that there's a new sheriff in town and the music has to change?
There are quite a number of allegations that are made about corruption here and there. As I told you, I will get some diligent officers, both in EACC and from the police. Tell them, look, I want thorough investigations done, and let there be convictions. Let there be convictions. And you can rest assured, with that kind of assurance, and some of those corruption deals are documented. They have documents. So it's a question of telling the officers concerned that investigations have to be done. If they don't, I will have a mechanism of checking whether or not these people we are entrusting with that kind of responsibility are themselves carrying out their duties, or they are also being sucked into the bandwagon. So we have to deal with that, and it's a question of putting mechanisms in place. And we will move on. We have the best laws. We have the best laws. I can tell you, something like money laundering, Kenya is having one of the best provisions to deal with money laundering. But what do we get? We are being listed in other areas that money laundering is now being, we are one of those countries which are being blacklisted as a havens of money laundering. It's a tragedy that we can allow ourselves to get to that level.
You know, former President Uhuru Kenyatta famously said, "Munataka nifanye nini jameni?" And he was basically responding to the idea that we have all these institutions and they are independent. In a sense, they do what they believe the law allows them to do, whether you would agree with that or not. And that, therefore, as president, your hands are considerably tied in terms of getting these institutions to do what they're supposed to do. Do you agree with that interpretation of our constitutional architecture with regard to corruption?
I don't agree with that kind of reasoning. As head of state, you read the Riot Act. I've told you, you read the Riot Act, and get things done. Let me tell you again, especially if you are able to deal with the top leadership of the country. You will send a very, very strong message. that it is not going to be business as usual. You will have to start from the top and ensure that the people who you surround yourself with are not the ones who are going to be the first ones. It has happened in other countries. We have cases of Singapore and others where somebody has said, look, this can't be done, and we have got to deal with even family members and ensure that the right thing is done. And I can assure you that we will succeed. It will not be an overnight fight. It will be fought for some time. But if we start and we make very, very strong statements, we are going to change the trajectory this country is taking.
So if you were to be elected president and you're looking at the first few days, where do you start? This is, there's a whole mess in all kinds of places. How do you prioritize? Where do you say, this is where the pain point is, and I'm going to do this to make a real difference and signal that we are moving in a new direction?
As I told you, I will start with the budget and corruption, and I can assure you that we will get some money to get our children to school. We will get some money to get drugs in hospitals. I have teams working on that, on what we need to do so that we provide health care, so that we get our children in school. And it's a question of seeing the priorities you have, the resources you have. Look at the priorities you have, which are the areas that can't wait. You can't tell me that a child who is in an examination class is going to be told to wait because there is no money. You lose generations of young people that way. So it's a question of getting your priorities right with the resources you have, and in due course, get things moving.
You nullified, at least the bench you led, nullified the results of a presidential election on grounds of irregularities and illegalities, as you said. Do you think that we are ready as a country to have a free and fair election? And what would that take, in your view?
The law is there. The IBC is being constituted. There are quite a number of issues that have been raised about the membership of the IBC. I don't want to talk about that because they are in court. The free and fair election comes with the management of the election itself, the election management. So it's a question of and I can assure you this time round, the Kenyans are going to be extremely vigilant. They are going to be extremely vigilant. Elections are won in the polling stations. Elections are won in the polling stations, and if we get the Kenyans, and we are going to appeal to the Kenyans to be very, very vigilant to ensure that their votes matter. Even if there are going to be cases of rigging, you will find that they can't succeed. So I am not saying that it is going to be completely free and fair, but every effort will have to be made by the Kenyans, and I'm calling upon the Kenyans themselves to be very, very vigilant on this, because it means their lives. It means our lives. If we are going to allow people who are going to buy their way by the billions they have stolen from us and continue being in leadership, then that is the problem we will be in. My appeal is that, and I'm appealing to the young people especially, to ensure that they register in large numbers, so that come the voting day, you will all come out and cast your vote. It is your constitutional right. It means your life. It means the lives of your children and the grandchildren. So it will be important that we are all vigilant.
there are practical steps that go into this. For example, you talk about, young people registering. These young people need to get IDs. Then they need to register. As we stand now, we haven't seen that heightened effort to get, IDs. We haven't seen a lot of movement. Like you talked about IEBC, there are all these court cases, and we are edging closer to that election because we just have next year, and then the other year we have the election. How comfortable are you that we are getting ready for a free and fair election when that time comes?
I'm very uncomfortable. I'm very uncomfortable because the election laws require that the IEBC should be in place. There's a lot the IEBC is required to do. Besides the boundary delimitation, the registration of voters, there is a civic education that they have got to carry out. They have got to organize themselves a lot. And they require a lot of funding quite early so that they are able to carry out their functions. The fact that we already, we are just almost a few years, 2 years to the elections, and IEBC is not yet in place. It's a worrying thing. It's a worrying thing. And look at what has held us up to this time. Some people have dragged their feet to have the IEBC in place, and they are going to have to delay that. But that notwithstanding, we cannot give up. The Kenyans are resilient people. We are not going to give up. We are going to ensure that all is done to make sure that we have a fair election.
Now we have, you have mentioned this whole thing of the processes that lead to the election not being there. What do Kenyans need to do today to ensure 2027 is free and fair? Because you rightly pointed out in that judgment about the result, the process being as important as the result, if not more important. And what we are talking about is the process. What do Kenyans need to do? Listening to you now as someone who aspires to be their leader, what should be the call now to Kenyans who are out there who are thinking, can we have an election that is free and fair in 2027?
Thank you. What the Kenyans need to do, and I want to call upon institutions, even in the private sector, both even in the churches and other institutions, is to carry out civic education. Tell Kenyans how important it is to vote. Tell Kenyans how important it is to ensure that the relatives and the friends and everybody registers and comes out to vote. And then, more importantly, tell them where we are and what has brought us to where we are. That unless we think seriously about election, a country is as good as its leaders. The Kenyans have got to understand that if you get corrupt leaders, you know what to expect. You know what to expect. So I want to ask Kenyans to be vigilant this time round. Even if I'm your brother, if you don't trust me, please don't vote for me. If you don't trust me, don't vote for me, because that's what has brought us to where we are. So, in preparation for elections, it's a question of civic education. It's a question of saying, look, these ethnic campaigns are not going to help us. Let us think about the issues that are facing the country and how we can resolve them. And let us get people. As I said, Kenyans are not short of good leaders. Let us get people who are going to look at the economy, which has been battered, and revamp it. You must be aware, Joe, that quite a number of businesses have closed and others are closing down in Kenya and moving to our neighboring countries. Why? Because the conditions have been made impossible for them in this country. I was speaking with some friends, foreigners. I says, look, you have a wonderful country. But, I mean, investors are not keen to come. Why? Because when they want to come and they invest, they're being told to give shares to people who are in power. So that, those who are in power can own shares in their companies for nothing. They have not contributed anything to there. And quite a number of those diligent businessmen say, no, we can't do that. There are other countries we can go to. And that is, and you know what that has done to our country. The job opportunities are lost. When you have a company closing down, and you have like 1,000 people, 1,000 people, each one of them has about 10 people behind him. When they are closing down, you can imagine the devastation that causes to the country. We should, as a country, as a government, what a government is supposed to do is to do everything possible to facilitate the business community to do their work and do it profitably so that they can create more jobs.
So we are almost ending, Bwana CJ, and I want us to look at a couple of reflective questions as we finish. So there was that famous nullification of the election. You referred to it, 2017. Looking at how the country has turned out, what has happened in the politics, in the judiciary, in the electoral system, was it worth it?
Was it worth?
Was it worth it? I mean, it was a big thing, perhaps even risky, I think. Do you think it moved any needle in terms of whether we are better off now as a country because of that earth-shaking decision that the court made then?
A lot. I think we have done very well. The decision we rendered was used in Malawi. It has been referred to in several other jurisdictions. And Kenya, despite the problems that we have here, Kenya is a leading authority on quite a number of issues in law. And it has sent a message. At least those in authorities are acting with a bit of restraint. And that's why I allowed the young people. There is like what is happening here. They are expressing their views. They are complaining. They are saying, look, we are not even being allowed opportunities to further our education, to do what we have gone to school to do. And you are threatening them with the death and the torture. They have refused. And I think the authorities had better understand there is no amount of threats. There are no threats that are going to stop the Kenyan people, especially the youths. They have been left. They are literally left with no choice at all. When, as I said, they are supposed to be contributing to our country. So when you come up with a bold decision, when the Gen Zs come and say, look, you are not going to, you can kill all of us, it will make a statement. Unfortunately, quite a number of people lose their lives, but it will make a statement. So if we are going to shy off and say you can't take bold decisions, then we are giving up. And I don't think Kenyans are that. Kenyans are very, very resilient people, and we are going to move the country forward.
We've been hearing a lot of complaints from the judiciary, their relationship with the executive, getting us testy. I don't know whether it is close to where it was when you were there. Standing from outside and looking in there, what do you see? What is the state of our judiciary today, considering that it is an important cog in this entire matrix of how our elections play out, how the rule of law is actually enacted in the country?
It's a very sad state of affairs when you look at the judiciary. Why? In most cases, it has just been almost incapacitated. The funding that is given to the judiciary is changed. How much is the judiciary given? Hardly has it gotten to 30 billion. Can you imagine a whole arm of government? Why? That is deliberate. That is deliberate to control the judiciary. Because of the judiciary giving unfavorable decisions against the executive has ensured through and through that it doesn't have enough funding. And that's why the framers of the Kenyan Constitution put it in Article 173, that as soon as the budget estimates are passed for the judiciary fund is supposed to be deposited in the judiciary fund account so that it is able to run its affairs. As I said, what is 30 billion shillings with a budget of 4 trillion? So the judiciary is being incapacitated so that it is weakened. When I was in the judiciary, you know, initially I even found that the judiciary was presenting its estimates to the treasury. I asked why. The judiciary is supposed to present its estimates to Parliament, and we changed that. What has not changed up to now is that, in spite of the fact that the judiciary fund account has been operationalized, the funding has not been given. So unless the Kenyan people, unless the MPs realize how important it is to have a functional and independent judiciary, we are going to continue having those problems. We are going to continue having great backlogs without resolving cases as quickly as they are supposed to be resolved.
So coming to the end of this, Kenyans are hearing you tonight. They have been told many things since time immemorial when it comes to political promises, people running for president. This is your last word in this interview. I know we will have other opportunities to explore this platform in greater detail because there are many, many questions that we cannot explore in one night. Is there anything we haven't talked about, CJ, that you think Kenyans need to know tonight?
I think we've covered quite a number of issues. The others are details, as you have rightly put it. The others are details. I think if Kenyans rise up and say, look, this time round, let us think about the issues facing the country, we are good to go. We'll be good to go.
All right, I'll hold you on to that because I will come here to ask you more questions. That time is coming. But thank you very much, CJ Emeritus David Kenani Maraga, speaking to us live in this exclusive interview where he has explored many things. Chief of them that he wants to run for president in 2027. He's opened himself up now. Many questions will be coming, and I'm sure he'll be willing, at least if he is, as he's been tonight, to answer all of those questions. Right now, I want to hand you over to Dan Mwangi, who is at our Nation Center studios. My name is Joe Ageo. A good night from here in Karen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Very much, Joe, and good night to you and CJ Emeritus. And you've gotten some exclusive stuff there from the